Welcome back to my humble abode. I am Yorkie the Tail Spinner, and the Chihuahua is just down here. And we're taking you back to Galarian for more of the tales of those whispers of darkness in Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. When last we left it, we'd got lost in and then defeated the Grey Garrison, and gained some mythic levels. Now, off camera, I did promote the mythic levels, the first level. But now, we're back at camp. Need to make it to Dresden. We need to talk to the Queen, having examined the other parts of the camp. We need to find out what Campfire's schemes are. We need to go to the Nameless Ruins with Ninio. We need to find his ring. There's a band of cultists and some lost relics of the Crusaders to find. We need to talk to Erebeth about her scabbard. Restoring a broken buckle is going to take a little while. And the notes for the storyteller, if I can find him. Right. Let's gather up. Where are we? Over here. There's loot, which we'll gather because we need to sell what we don't need. If there's something we need, then obviously, as the main adventurers, we need it. These are the Knights of Canabras, indeed. Okay, we found the quartermaster. Ah, there you are, you dashing troublemaker, you. Darren flashes you a self-satisfied smile. Our short acquaintance is coming to an end. Very soon you will depart on your crusade, where you'll scrape by on horrible rations, struggle vainly to fall asleep amidst snoring soldiers, be rudely awoken by the freezing cold, and have to look upon the dour faces of self-righteous prigs, before you finally perish in the maw of some demon. I have a journey ahead of me too. I've just rented a sailboat in the south. I've also hired an excellent chef, and a host of other entertainments. Well, to each their own, I suppose. Darren pauses, and then suddenly adds in a more serious voice, "You know, I'm genuinely sad to see you go. If it sounds like mockery, forgive me. I cannot switch off my venom gland on a whim, you see. But, intrigue me. If only we could have spent a little more time together. But of course," Darren grimaces, "not under these conditions. Let the Crusaders and the demons have at each other. With any luck, they'll take this entire sanctimonious spectacle down with them." You know, I would like you to be stead. You intrigue me too. Darren's eyes light up a little. He's obviously pleased by your attention, yet he answers in his typical mocking tone. "Alas, life is full of disappointments. I must reject your offer. In any case, I intend to wait until the army departs. I do love a good send-off, especially when it is I who is staying and someone else who is heading off to meet a dreary and hopeless end. Sometimes it does one good to ruminate on the unfairness of life. Well then, farewell, Commander. I assume I shall be your most precious memory on this most disgusting and exhausting road to pointless slaughter of battle. Or if not the most precious memory, then at least the most stirring. Darren smirks before instantly losing all interest in you, or at least he pretends to.
This way.
Canabras. Nerusian, apparently I didn't go in and talk to them. Or something at least. A group of soldiers is talking loudly, laughing joyfully and passing around a flask. So picture this, my sword is by the fire, there's 2 goblins about to snatch it, and 3 more are digging through my tent. And I'm sat in the bushes wearing just my mail shirt, wondering about what the blast to do. An old mercenary taught me about the mail shirt. You can't sleep in armour, but it's not so bad in mail, once you get used to it. Too bad no one told me not to go into the bushes without my sword. So what did you do? What did I do? I barked like crazy. Goblins are afraid of dogs, you know. So they all went wild and started running around. I spot my sword, and they spot me. So I jump over the fire wearing nothing but my mail shirt, and I grab my sword and I yell in my big tough voice, "Oh, Inheritor, grant me the power to crush these filthy creatures." My sword's shining. The goblins are screaming. I jump to attack them and they fight back. But I fought them off somehow. But ever since then, I've never taken a step without my weapon. Sealer takes a sip from a flask. Haha, that's some story. Hey, stop gulping. Leave some for us. We've only just set off, and you're already drinking? And with the Queen in camp, stop this at once. The knights quickly snap to attention. Sealer raises the flask and says loudly, "Right you are, Commander Tirabade. We are but drinking to the Queen's health. Give me a sip too, to Her Majesty's health." Irabeth rubs her forehead with the palm of her hand. "Commander, are you sure this is the right way to train your soldiers?" "Never mind, it's your business." We found the recruits from Dresden. This is the field hospital. Vasily. A few people, blah blah blah. Camellia, beautiful day, isn't it? Out we go. A chapel tent. Outfitted this tent to be used as a chapel. Altar of ceremony, various altars. All good. Army Quartermaster. I haven't spoken to him yet. Let's head over here. No, wrong way. Nora's tent? This is not a Dendubar's tent. It seems she brought a lot of unnecessary things with her. That's fine, I'll have them all and sell them. Somehow I've missed items down here. This is mine and Anevia's tent. We're both used to travelling, but the Queen insisted our tent be furnished like a commanding officer's. Now, why do you have separate beds? It's not my place to ask, I suppose. But it doesn't bode well for the marriage, does it? See what Ninio has to say, if anything. Nothing. Ember. Seen so many happy faces today, it's so good. Waljeff, you know what the Queen does to people who keep her waiting? I don't, but I know better than to find out. Don't worry, we'll get there. Mistress, these soldiers lack discipline and concentration. I won't entrust them with our lives. Good to see that you have our backs, I suppose. Wilsa Garms. The burly soldier with an impressive beard greets you with a broad smile. Wilsa Garms, quartermaster at your service. How may I help you? Tell me about yourself. The quartermaster looks away sheepishly. There isn't much to tell, really. I was born in Canabras in a humble family. I got an education, taught myself to read and write. Got drafted into the army, spent 3 years as a shield bearer in the first line. I left after I did my time and joined the Stonemasons Guild. Then moved on to the shipwrights and rose to a crew chief. Sailed to Iabaria twice and returned with goods. Made some money, built a house, but haven't started a family yet. I think I will after we're done with this war. But a few years ago something started gnawing at me. I got this feeling like I needed to go home. But there was a storm heading for my native city, and when there's trouble in Mendeb, there's only one thing to do. You go to the recruiter and sign up for the army, and so I did. At first they wanted to make me an infantry sergeant, and then they decided I'd be better fit in the supply department. I can take care of army property, and I'm pretty handy around the warehouse, not to mention I know how to manage a band of helpers. And so that's how I became a quartermaster. Wilson gives you a shy smile and shrugs, as if this whole unremarkable story... If this were a wholly unremarkable story, typical of any crusader. What are your duties in camp? A little bit of everything. What's an officer to a soldier? A strict father. So what does this make a quartermaster like myself? Someone like their mum. Oh, that's what. I make sure the lads have everything they need to defeat the enemy and come back from battle in one piece. Wilson starts ticking off his fingers. That means food, firewood, medicine, tents, mended clothes, fixed weapons. The horses have got to be fed and watered. The camp's got to be fortified by the evening and broken up by the morning. I make sure the wages are paid on time and the wagon wheels don't squeak. And then there are reports. Gods. Until you asked, I'd never realised how many duties I actually had. What do the soldiers think of their new commander? They mostly tell tales about your unusual power, but they don't shy away from talking about you as a person too. Soldiers are always like that. If Eomede herself descended from heaven, you bet they'd jabber on about how she grips a sword and how good she looks in her armour. Word is that when you were a little kid, your babysitter was an Ifrit, or maybe a Satan, or some other exotic lady from another plane, and that she taught you some tricks no priest or mage can do. Show me what you have. Bulk selling? I don't need the books. I wonder why it's not selling them. I don't generally find alchemist fire to be all that useful. Right. Junk. Unfinished letter, severed heads. Why do I have them? Tome of the Minotaur. Sermon extract. Apparently soft cheese is not food. Nor is that trout. Custodian Teldon's keys. I don't think I'll be needing them anymore. I need to keep that, I think. Potions, what's this? Holy water, useful against undead, I assume. We'll keep all of that. I'm not sure that all of it's going to be useful, but one never knows, I suppose. This dwarven tankard allows its owner to summon a Zata under a haste spell effect once per day. The owner can summon a single Lilenda Zata. 9th level, it summons 1 Lilenda Zata and 2 advanced Bralini Zatas, and at 11th it summons 1 Lilend and 2 advanced Brazini and a Gale. If the owner of the dwarven tankard is on the Azata mythic path, the summoner Zatas are additionally equipped with heroism spell effects. We're not, but that sounds useful. That's all food, etc. That we need. Buckler +1. Breastplate +1 we don't need. Firstly, get rid of everything that's non-magical, except for Radiance, of course. Blocker. No one's using axes, great axes. No one's using picks. Short sword might be. Cold iron falchion, no. Cold iron short spear +1 might need it at some point. Dark glowing scythe. Whenever this +2 scythe lands a hit on an enemy, it deals an additional 1d3 negative energy damage, and the target must pass a reflex save or suffer additional 1 energy damage each round for 1d4 rounds. Doesn't, I mean, the +2 is nice. Other than that, it doesn't sound like it's all that useful. It deals an additional 1d6 positive energy damage. No. The melody. Finesse wielding. Whenever this +1 cold iron short sword lands a hit on an enemy, the target must pass a fortitude saving throw or become sickened. I can live without it. Perhaps even the Claw of Jiska can go. I don't see anyone using it, to be honest. Godzilla's orders are irrelevant. Right. With that, it's time to go to my tent and talk to the Queen. Well, first of all, let's see what else is here. Nothing. Garbage. Also garbage. Mostly garbage, but all can bring money, which can be used to get to useful things. There's Nura. Happy to help the cause. Leota Hawkblade. Respects Commander. And Soziel. It's good to meet you. Your Majesty, the Queen greets you with a stare. She has dropped the pompous air with which she just announced the Fifth Crusade. The face of the ruler of Mendev appears calm and thoughtful. She has made her move and now she awaits an opportunity. Her opponent's reply.
Commander, I'm satisfied with the troop review, but I do not expect they will be sufficient for the task. You will have to prove yourself a shrewd leader and hire the necessary troops with the provided funds. I have chosen a target for your campaign, and that target is Dresden, our lost outpost within the World Wound. The Sword of Valor was kept there, a banner that was once carried by Iomade herself. Our greatest relic was lost when the city fell. I should make one thing clear from the start. The Sword of Valor is no mere symbol, but a powerful weapon against demons. The holiness of the banner weakens them and robs them of one of their most dangerous abilities, teleportation.
Useful.
A forced march to Dresden awaits you. The Sword of Valor is kept somewhere within the Citadel. The demons probably think it's a hunting trophy. Its recovery is just as important as retaking the city itself. I hope the task is clear. I'm sending 2 specialists to help you, along with the soldiers. A historian, Nura Denduar, and a cleric, Soziel Dainik.
The Queen nods to the human man and the young halfling woman standing next to her.
One of the famous inquisitors of the Church of Iomade also wants to talk to you. The Honorable Leota, whom everyone calls Hawkblade.
I do not wish to keep you, Commander. The matter I must discuss with you is extremely important, but it is not directly related to the Crusade. You no doubt wish to meet your new comrades and speak with Her Majesty. Therefore, I shall leave you now, but I ask that you seek me out in the camp at your earliest convenience.
Hi! Listen, it's amazing here. It's like I'm in a ballad. There's knights in shining armor, deadly dangers, glorious feats. We are going to show those demons! I'm so tired of sitting in a library reading books about history. It's time I took part in it!
She's certainly enthusiastic.
I'm glad to help our cause, Commander. If you have some time later, I'd like to speak with you further.
And he might be a goody two-shoes.
You'll have plenty of time to talk. You're the Knight Commander's people now, her trusted advisors and companions. Now then, will you please leave us? Irabeth, you can go too.
When we met at the Defender's Heart, I never imagined you'd make me commander of the new crusade.
Some actions may be deemed bold, or even extreme, and beyond those, there are some you might call the Queen's last resort. I am not a simple monarch. I am at war with the Abyss, a war which has lasted over 100 years. I cannot allow myself the luxury of caution. In you, I see a chance, and I am willing to stake everything on it.
The Queen allows herself a smile.
However, you cannot blame me for putting you in charge of the crusade. I only formalized what had already happened in the hearts and minds of many. People spoke of the power that descended upon you and helped you save the Wardstones from corruption and total destruction. Word of this feat quickly spread far beyond the borders of Mendev. There was no other person who could better fit the role of Knight Commander of the Fifth Crusade.
I have some questions about my mission to retake Dresden.
Of course. I shall answer.
How did the demons manage to conquer Dresden?
That's a good question. Its walls were built by dwarf craftsmen, and the power of the Sword of Valor protected the city. Alas, where raging hordes failed, a single lying tongue was all they needed to succeed. The demoness Minago convinced a young and ambitious crusader named Staunton Vane that the banner belonged on the battlefield. He went on a daring and unapproved raid, and the banner ended up in the enemy's hands. The city fell soon after. Ever since then, for 7 decades, it has served as a citadel for the forces of the Abyss.
Staunton Vane, I saw him at the Grey Garrison. He defected to the demon's side.
Oh, really? I wasn't informed of this. After Dresden fell because of Staunton, he was nearly sentenced to death. He deserved it. In wartime, men are hanged for far less. But you have no idea what a terrible sight it is. A raging crowd of crusaders baying for blood. Never have my fighters looked so much like the demons we are fighting.
Galfy frowns.
I commuted Staunton's sentence and stripped him of his rank. Not just for him, but for my army and my country. We are not Hell Knights. We do not maintain discipline with public executions.
He shouldn't have stayed the hand of justice. If he died, he wouldn't be betraying you again now.
Justice was nowhere to be found that day. The army had become a mob, and the tribunal was a prelude to what that mob craved: bloody carnage. I am the Queen of Mendev, and the leader of the Crusades. Justice served on my behalf cannot look like that.
Galfrey says the last phrase with purpose, her eyes ablaze. What forces are at my disposal?
Everyone we saw today at the parade. First among them, the Eagle Watch, who remain a powerful force thanks to Irabeth's resourcefulness. Also marching with you are several minor knightly orders, as the minor volunteer units like to be called. And finally, I have personally selected some recruits from Neurosian. They have little in the way of battle experience, but great determination and a thirst to prove themselves. I've always thought that an army benefits from at least one such unit. These forces, as I said, are not enough for a march on Dresden. You will have to hire additional troops with the funds that have been provided to you. But for a brave commander, and I hope you are one, that is just the beginning. If you retake Dresden, recover the holy power of the Sword of Valor, and gain a foothold in the region, then new armies will join under your banner. The Fifth Crusade is only beginning. Many battles and victories lie ahead.
It's been decades and no one has managed to retake the city. Why do you think we're different?
We have a chance now that we haven't seen in decades. But it's more than that. You created this chance for us by foiling the demon's plans in Canabras. The army who attacked the city came straight from Dresden. Demon hordes from the Abyss are usually encamped there, but many of them perished on the streets of Canabras. We must attack swiftly before they can restore their forces. When the city is free and the Sword of Valor appears before our soldiers, they won't be sending in any more reinforcements. Demons cannot teleport into an area protected by the banner of the goddess.
What about long-term goals? Do we know how to get rid of the world wound forever?
Now you are talking like a real knight commander. However, answering your question is not easy. To win this war, we must bar the demon's way. There are a few planar rifts leading to the Abyss across the territory we call the world wound. The best specialists we could find have tried to close them on separate occasions, with no success, as you may have guessed. The world wound is more than just a chain of portals to the abyss. We do not understand its nature yet. The methods of rift closure known to magical science simply do not work here. However, we have a hypothesis, and a rather well-grounded one, that we must begin at the source of the problem, the place where the world wound was opened. The main rift lies through the city of Iz, and the Threshold Fortress, deep in the former lands of Socorus. We have never managed to fight our way so far and gain a foothold to allow the mages to explore the origins of the world wound. So, the next step, after you succeed in Dresden, is an offensive push deeper into the world wound, with the aim of reaching Threshold. The very threshold of the abyss.
I have no more questions.
Wonderful.
Did you know the souls of the angels from heaven were confined in the Wardstone?
I had guessed as much. Many angels fought alongside us in the First Crusade. Heaven was unable to mobilize its full might to aid us, but individual celestials volunteered to fight for our cause. Then one day, they all vanished, saying that they were setting off on an important mission. Not long after, Iomede's herald erected the first wardstone in Canabras, and then the others in cities across Mendev. Even back then, I had nagging doubts, but my faith in Iomede easily assuaged them. It is for us to serve the goddess after all, not to question her works.
A furrow forms in the Queen's brow.
In any case, I am glad you did not allow the demons to commit sacrilege and gain control over the wardstone in Canabras. We might have lost one of the wardstones, but the chain is still standing.
You should know I received an unusual gift in the cave beneath Canabras. In a vision, I saw the death of an angel called Lariel. Somehow she was able to grant me the ability to reveal the light of heaven.
Lariel. I knew him. He disappeared shortly before the world wound grew, and Dresden fell into the enemy's hands. In the chaos, we had more important concerns than investigating the fate of a single angel. Even one so righteous and beloved as Lariel. And afterward, matters took a turn for the worse. The angels left us to go on their special mission. It is so strange to hear the names I used to hear when I was young, like getting a message from the past. It is sad news, but it brings me back to the times when we strongly believed in our victory, and we rushed headlong toward it without fear. Could it be that such times have come again?
A smile, kind and sad, crosses the Queen's face. And what are you going to do?
Overlooking a spot of insubordination just at the moment. However, I shall answer you. I shall prepare the defenses at Nerosian and all the other border cities and plan the future of the Fifth Crusade. Does that satisfy your curiosity, Knight Commander?
Godfrey arches her brow. Does the Church of Iomede really spend so much time prolonging your life, Queen, just so you can watch the battle from the rear? You're the living banner of the Crusades and your duty is on the front lines.
Time since anyone tried to talk to me quite like that. Like an interrogator at a trial.
The Queen seems astonished but not outraged. She fixes her piercing eyes on you.
I don't know if you realize what you're suggesting. If our enemies in the depths of the wound were to discover that I was with your army, they would immediately send their most vicious demons to attack. They would stop at nothing to be rid of me, and thereby sow chaos across Mendev. But you are right. I shouldn't be sitting it out in the rear. I am a warrior queen, and a queen of warriors. Yet my fighters have forgotten what I look like. Fine. I shall join the crusade, but on my own terms. First, I shall assemble my entourage and lead the parade out of the camp. I shall catch up with you later, along with a few hand-picked bodyguards. We'll change our armor, and I'll become a knight of a minor order and join the troops incognito. Until we approach Dresden, no one should know I am among you. But before we storm the city, I shall show myself to the troops and join the battle. Let it be a surprise for the demons. I hope you won't complain of my company on the road, Commander, since you were the one who insisted upon it. Do you have any other questions?
Godfrey chuckles. Determined, proud, optimistic, a little naive sometimes, despite her age. Beautiful. What's not to like? Join us. The task is clear.
Splendid. Ah, yes. We have one final matter to attend to. It should be rather enjoyable.
Oh yes, my queen? That sounds intriguing.
Count, there you are. You received my instruction?
I did, though I did not have time to read the thing before I was dragged before your majesty. In truth, I was readying myself to depart.
No matter. I trust you will forgive your sovereign for the rather brusque summons, especially when you learn what prompted it. As you are aware, she has recently been appointed my Knight Commander of the Fifth Crusade. I spent a long while pondering whom to appoint to the highly sensitive post of Commander's Field Attaché and Advisor Plenipotentiary without portfolio. Congratulations, Count.
The queen makes a stately gesture in your direction. In other words, you're going nowhere, Darren, and you've got a position with no papers. In other words, you've got a position you're not being paid for.
It is a great honor, I suppose.
Darren's cool expression wavers, but he seems not to be fully cognizant of what is happening. That, when he's holding himself tightly in check. What a wonderful gesture, Your Majesty. I imagine our dear Count would have been inconsolable if you hadn't given him this chance to serve the common cause.
I knew you would approve, Commander.
The Queen bestows a smile on you, then brings her gaze to rest on Darren once more.
I had my doubts about whether you were ready for such a responsibility, Count, but your conduct in Canabras has put my mind at ease. So, you will travel with the troops to Dresden. Only the commander may remove you from your post, but I trust that you will dutifully fulfill her orders and make a good showing of yourself. Especially since word of your appointment, Count, will reach the court at any moment. All of Mendev's nobility will be following your successes in service to the nation, including all of your devoted admirers. I even heard that one bard with whom you are particularly friendly has already begun composing a ballad to honor your heroic participation in the crusade and your faithful service to the commander here.
Your largesse truly knows no bounds, dear cousin. I am most gratified by the honor you have shown me.
The Count offers a bow either as a sign of respect or in order to hide his flushed face. Only the barest quaver can be heard in his voice.
Then let's get going. May Ayomade help us.
Anivia sweeps an inquisitive glance over you, so tell me straight, how did you get that brawl at the Great Garrison end? Or how'd that brawl at the Great Garrison end? I heard rumours, of course. That's kind of my job, you know, to listen. But you've no idea what cobblers and crusaders say about you. Some say that Ayomade came to you and appointed you her herald. Others say that you died and an honest-to-God's angel is now leading the army disguised as you. Still others say it was just an explosion at an alchemist lab, and I'm the one spreading rumours about your powers. I wish. But you know, you really have changed since the Great Garrison. It's hard to describe, but you become kinda... Anivia waves a hand, trying to find the word. More charismatic? More dangerous! I have a gut instinct about these things. If I didn't, I'd already be dead. You're dangerous, Commander, and by Desna, I hope you'll be dangerous to our enemies and not to us, or to yourself. Tell me about yourself. The girl shrugs. I'd be happy to, but there's kind of nothing to tell. What's so interesting about me? Where are you from? Nowhere. I was blown in by the wind and found in a cabbage patch. The girl stops short. Sorry, that's an old habit of mine. I don't like blabbing about my past, but you saved my skin, so I kinda owe it to you. Not to clown around, right? I'm from Nidal. And I wouldn't wish my homeland on my worst enemy. You've heard of the place, I'm sure, ruled by monsters that aren't alive or dead, and the official religion is the cult of Zunkathon. I grew up in a slum, like a weed, between cobblestones. I didn't have a dad, but I had lots of aunts and uncles. My mum's cronies, no prize for guessing the kind of business she was involved in. They gave me a set of lockpicks as soon as I could hold a spoon, and while other kids were picking their noses, I was picking pockets. When I was 12, the monks of the Silent Shroud came for us. Creepy guys with their mouths sewn shut. They're the guards in Nizroch. Mum gave me to her friends, and we hid in a secret temple in Desna. I never saw my mum again. I lay low in the temple for the next few years, kept my head down. I washed floors, fetched water, listened to sermons. Funny thing, after a while I started liking Desna's teachings. But as soon as I was old enough, I was out of there. I left Nidal and got as far away as I could. Quite a ragtag group you've got here, from noble to street thieves. Got that right. Only the best for you. What do you do if the knights and nobles fail to save the world? The lowlifes are our only hope. How did you meet Arabeth? I was bumming around Timon a while back, doing this and that. Desmond Temple sometimes gave me odd jobs, you know. Sometimes they need people with skills like mine. On the surface it was fine, I guess. After Nidal, the freedom of the River Kingdoms should have seemed like heaven, my chance to sit back and enjoy life, but I wasn't happy. There just wasn't any joy in my new life. I was all alone. No one cared about me. And I didn't care about anybody either. I struggled to find a reason to drag myself out of bed every morning. Tying a stone around my neck and jumping into the nearest river started to look pretty appealing. One day I was hired to follow some fellas who the local authorities suspected were Asmiran spies. I was stupid. I made a rookie mistake and they caught me. It's like my body had already decided to do what my mind had been fighting, to finally put me out of my misery. Depression, my friends, is a terrible thing. Get someone else to kill me, since I didn't have the guts to do it myself. They grabbed me. I thought they'd gut me on the spot, but instead they hogtied me and dragged me off. And just like an animal going to the slaughter, my only thought was, let's get this over with. They brought me to their stinking cave, threw me on the altar, and I realized who it was. Cuthites from Nidal. They'd tracked me down after all those years, but I didn't care anymore. Wouldn't even have cared if they'd eaten me or whatever. We all gotta go sometime, right? So I was lying there staring at those knives pointed at me when fate rolled the dice and I hit the jackpot. Irabeth. There she was storming into the cave. Picture it. I'm lying on the altar with all these knife-wielding maniacs around me and suddenly Irabeth storms in. I thought it was Eamade herself, fierce in her shining armour with her gleaming sword raised. She made quick work of those scumbags, chopped them up just like that. I didn't even have time to blink. She untied me and then... The girl's face lights up as she chuckles. She looked through the papers they had on the table and she started swearing like a sailor. So much for Eamade, huh? How did you and Irabeth end up in Canabras? After almost becoming a human sacrifice, I knew I never wanted to leave Irabeth's side. Desna knows I fell for her instantly, and fell hard. My misery was gone, and when Irabeth showed me what was in those papers, proof that the cultists had a nest in her home city, well, I offered to help without a second's thought. Anivia smiled warmly. She must have figured I couldn't wait to get my revenge on the cultists. But I didn't give a damn about them. It was her. I'd go anywhere with her, even on a crusade, or into the jaws of the dragon. But I took the life in Canabras like a duck to water. I used to be an outcast wherever I went, but half of the crusaders are the same. After all, who'd volunteer to tangle with demons on the edge of the abyss? You gotta be either a goody two-shoes with too much honour and free time, or a misfit with no life out in the ordinary world with normal people. People come here to run away from their debts, their past, and themselves. So I fit right in. What's it like living with Irabeth? It's like living. Without her, I wouldn't be. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone by now. Sure, sometimes we argue, can't deny that. Sometimes we bang our fists on the table and yell so loud that the walls shake. Oh, it's all about order business. But at home... Well, I'll give you an example. I've kinda always wanted to move out of that broom closet we call a house and into somewhere cozier. It ain't like they take a vow of poverty at the Eagle Watch. But every month, somehow, most of our spare money is spent on crusader business. Sure, I get mad about it, but Anivia makes a helpless gesture. It's part of why I love her so much. You know, Irabeth has that thing that matters most for a person, a purpose in life. She's always got a reason for whatever she's doing. Her whole life is a crusade. And I just drifted around like a leaf in the wind until Desna brought us together. Now she's the meaning of my life. So it really makes no difference if we live in a mansion or under a bush. Oh, Anivia, I could tell you tales. I could indeed. The path you walk is dangerous indeed. Powerful. Powerful. The love of someone so strong that they're your reason for existing is powerful. What if something happens to them? What if you lose them? What then? Thank you for your answers. Thanks for asking. Telling you all this kind of made me feel better. I have to go. Alright, watch yourself. I don't think we need to do anything else in here. Ah, we've gained a level. Kineticist, and that's probably where you're going to stay. Kineticist, level 6. Wild talent. Let's see, shall we? Stealth. And I think some... perhaps put some points into there. You recover 1d4 points of ability score to one of your physical abilities, strength, dexterity, or constitution. This also eliminates any fatigue you suffer. Or skill focus. Skilled kineticist, possible. Slick. You gain cold resistance equal to twice your current amount of burn. You gain amount of fire equal to twice your current amount of burn. Bonus feat, blind fight, or bull rush. Neither of those are relevant. Stealth or perception, maybe. I think we'll go skilled kineticist. When do I greet you with, Sir Well-bound Mistress? How may I serve you? That army of mongrels you promised me would be useful right about now. The hunter shrugs. Yes, they would be useful in this campaign. If we had more time and weren't in such a hurry, we'd go to Sol and show him the trophies we took from the demons. He'd stop shaking in fear and summon the tribes, but the way I see it, we don't have time to waste right now. We'll have to deal with Sol after we conquer Dresden. What about Finian? Is there anything to say to him? No. A Terabade camp. Commander, allow me to say something. Irabeth looks even more serious than usual. Before you, this wasn't a war. It was agony drawn out over decades. No one believed in victory anymore. When the demons attacked the city, for some reason it was a relief. At least the end had come. They laid down their weapons and surrendered without a fight. I felt the same thing, but I somehow got through on stubbornness and the vague hope that if nobody found Anevia's body, she might by some miracle have survived, and that miracle was you. You returned, my beloved, to me, and when I'd lost all hope of seeing her alive again, then you went on a suicide mission to the Grey Garrison and won the city back for us. You turned a defeat into a victory. I know it wasn't easy, but you make everything seem so effortless. You do everything just like that, she says with a snap of her fingers. The Queen believes in your powers too, but for me they're just more proof of what I felt that day when I saw Anevia alive standing next to you. You're the miracle we've been waiting for. You're the one who will finally put an end to this terrible war. In spite of everything, you deliver us the victory we so desperately need. With you, I'm sure this crusade will achieve what the others could not. I found a scabbard with your family name on it in the Grey Garrison. Lost scabbard of heirloom sword. Erebeth looks down. This scabbard held the solemn hour. My family sword. My father once fought with it. And I took it when I left home to become a paladin. Alas, it was not stolen. I parted with my heirloom willingly to help someone dear to me. Anevia needed expensive healing, and having no other way to procure the money, I pawned my father's sword. I think he would have understood. I'm sure he would have given up everything to help the family. I hoped to redeem the solemn hour eventually, but there was never enough money, and soon the sword disappeared from the pawn shop altogether. I have no idea who took it. Seems like I'll have to part with my father's sword forever. Is Anevia sick? You'll forgive me if I don't go into details. It's a private matter. Suffice to say, everything is fine now. The treatment was costly, but it was worth it. I can see you truly love her. A delicate blush appears on Erebeth's cheeks. She nods silently. You performed a good action. Erebeth lovingly traces the name imprinted on the silver in the scabbard's leather. My parents were loyal servants, yet it wasn't enough to earn them a title or a coat of arms. Still, however humble a name might be, it is worth something. I don't know if I'll ever see the solemn hour again, but at least I have its scabbard back. Thank you. So it turns out the Queen has her head of counterintelligence watching me? I wonder why. You think the Queen doesn't trust you? If that were true, she wouldn't have put you in charge of the army. My main task is to be your advisor until you've gained enough experience as a commander. As for counterintelligence, Aneva and I were tasked with keeping an eye on your inner circle. You're not under any suspicion, Commander. You're under our protection. We need reinforcements. Can you get us more soldiers? Erebeth frowns. When we began the march on Dresden, we chose speed over numbers. If I order more volunteers to be recruited, they simply won't arrive in time. We could pay majors to deliver the troops to the camp. I doubt that our army coffers could afford it. If you can spare 7,500 gold coins, I'll see to our reinforcements. You have your orders. If two of your armies stand next to each other on the global map, they can transfer units between them. Yes, yes, yes. It's hard to believe your origin is so humble. You deserve a noble title more than many who inherit them. Erebeth's cheeks blush a little. Thank you, Commander. It's an honour to hear that, especially from you. Every noble family begins somewhere. You must have heard of the recent story from the Stolen Lands in the River Kingdoms. Just imagine coming from nowhere and making it all the way to the Royal Crown in just a few years. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I managed to distinguish myself somehow. But then I push away such unworthy, selfish thoughts, of course. We don't fight for rewards. The fate of the world is at stake. And yet, Erebeth's blush deepens and she falls silent. I have to go.
The road calls me.
Ember is bobbing her head and humming a tune. She greets you with a carefree, cheerful smile. Her wandering eyes linger on you for a moment before darting off again into the distance. Tell me about yourself. They call me Ember. I used to live in River City and now I walk with you. That's my story. We've seen all that. How are you handling your new abilities? Abilities? The girl tilts her head on her shoulder. What are you talking about? Oh, the tricks you learned when the big grey house blew up. They're funny. Thanks for teaching them to me. The Queen gave me the title Knight Commander and put me in charge of an army. What do you think about that? The elf focuses her wandering gaze on your eyes, smiles and shakes her head. Don't believe titles. All of us in the world are children of the street. Barefoot, hungry, scared. Step away from death. Some imagine they're strong and rich like gods, but don't forget who you really are behind the title. I have to go. So go. Was there anything else? No, just I don't need you, which I'm not saying because that's not true. Ninio. Ah, girl, there you are. Very good, just in time. You'll be delighted to know I need you for an experiment. So the great garrison stands roofless. Demons are running over the hills with their tails between their legs. Mendev's queen, what's her name? It's on the top of my yes, Galfrey. It's scurrying to and fro, and all this is somehow connected to you. My loyal follower. Thus far, there is no scientific evidence of your exceptionality. If one discounts blind faith in divine intervention, which I do. We people of science refuse to believe in the inexplicable without proof. We are the ones who explain the inexplicable. Ninio punctuates her statement with an energetic sweep of her arm, and therefore open your mouth and say "ah" for me. Why? Isn't it obvious I'm going to study you? Come along, don't stand in the way of science. What does my mouth have to do with my new abilities? Perhaps there is no connection, or perhaps there is a direct connection. We'll never know unless we try. Ah? Ninio peers into your mouth with a practiced eye. All right, your throat's fine, tongue looks perfectly normal. Your breath, she sniffs. The smell is in line with the regular functioning of the digestive system. Now for your teeth. She sticks one hand in your mouth and probes each of your teeth in turn with the skill of a seasoned dentist. No detectable alterations. By the way, did you know that many individuals, while being wholly civilized representatives of their races, still have an amazingly powerful bite? As if suddenly recalling something, Ninio promptly pulls a hand from out of your mouth. Are you really trying to find a correlation between fang length and civility? Ninio seems slightly embarrassed, and for the good of science, I look for correlations everywhere. And in everything. How can you prove there's no correlation if you don't bother to look for one? If someone gets on my nerve, I can bite hard enough too. Can you? We definitely must test that someday. But not today. We are now conducting an experiment of a different kind. Moving on. Alright. What do we have next? Ears. Let's check your hearing. Testing! Ninio yells right in your ear. And nods in satisfaction as she observes your reaction. Your hearing is fine. What's fine? But don't worry, it's scientifically proven that it should return to normal soon. Next, Ninio circles you. Eyes are clear, posture is satisfactory. Limb length is standard, no lice. She stops, rubs her chin in contemplation. And in slightly dejected tone says, Girl, you got a picture of health. It's a pity, I was expecting to find some anomaly. Well now, let's assess your mental state. Imagine a hypothetical situation. You see a tree. 2 squirrels have found their way into your hollow and are now copulating there. What do you do? Well, let them copulate. Why should I care? An unconscious act of good. Allowing 2 lesser creatures to procreate while protecting them during this crucially important process. On to the next question. Another hypothetical question. You are a tomato. You have just been picked from the vegetable patch and put in a crate. You know that today the cook will use half of the tomatoes from your crate to make soup. What do you do? There's nothing I can do. I'm a tomato, remember? An unconscious act of withdrawal, inability or unwillingness to see something bigger behind something small. Alright, I understand. You said I was a tomato. Your angelic mercy speaks for itself. Your behavioural pattern definitely shows an inclination towards angels. On that note, I deem this experiment complete. Thank you for your participation. Inyo looks at you pensively, and then gestures at you with a wide sweep of her arm. And yet you remain a puzzle to me. I love puzzles. One of these days I will solve you completely, unless I forget. Now I have time to answer your questions. Do ask away. I have to go, you strange and unusual person. Camellia. Greetings. The neat smile on Camelia's lips disappears so quickly you almost wonder if you imagined it. So you're Hog's daughter. You've discovered my most terrible secret. Father cares so much about the Gwyrm name that he raised me in our mansion. You've seen this. What do you think of the powers you receive from me? Camellia shrugs nonchalantly. People of noble descent grow accustomed to ample opportunity. The powers I receive from you are useful, so I see no point in treating with excessive piety. Have to go. Waljeff. Waljeff gives you a friendly smile. Hey Chief, wanna talk? What do you think of my new powers? Waljeff pauses to think, rubbing his chin. You mean what you did back there? I have a few ideas. We could send you to a Pitex underground arena to fight. Give you a scary name like Swift Sting or something like that. Give you a great great cover story. Enemies burn down your house. You're avenging your dead family. The public eats that stuff up. You'll wear a shiny eye-catching outfit, a black one, if you like black better. We'll split the prize money 60-40, 60 for me, of course. You know, arranging fights isn't easy. Those people are tough. I'll be taking more risk than you. And after we get set up in Pitex, we'll tour different cities, making some real money. What, you don't like the sound of it? Do you have any other suggestions? Waljeff grins, his eyes light up. I got one. Have you heard of Razmiran? It's some land in the River Kingdoms ruled by a King Razmir. A friend of mine used to live in Razmiran. He got out of there as fast as he could. Long story short, this King Razmir of theirs is a god. He keeps his people under his heel. They're all terrified of what he might do. He sits on his throne wearing some white mask, giving power to anyone. Come and take power from me, say, so long as you believe in me. Waljeff quickly checks that no one is eavesdropping, but that friend of mine, the one who fled, and has half a sister on his old man's side who's a cook in the castle, and a washerwoman who the cook plays cards with in the evenings. Told her a juicy rumour. Word is, Razmir isn't a real god at all, and he's got no powers. So here's my point. You do have powers, pretty scary ones. We'll find some shabby little kingdom. I'll start some rumours. You'll show off a few tricks to wow the locals, and that's it. We'll make you a deity. But first, I want you to put it in writing that I'll be your chief advisor. I'm not doing anything just on the nod. I've been there. People promise you mountains of gold, and then, when it comes to it, they're all get lost or I'll set the dogs on you. So do you like the idea? It's an interesting idea, but I need to think about it. Sure thing, think about it. Just call me if you need me. We'll discuss it. Right. Sell the crap I've just picked up. I saw you talking to the girl hiding her face. Who was she and what did she want? I don't know, Commander. She never introduced herself, but I bet she's not a part of our army. I know all our soldiers by name and by sight. Wilsa frowns gloomily, his cordiality gone in an instant. She was looking for some elf volunteer. I wanted to know which tent he was sleeping in. At first I thought she was a messenger from Mendev. She definitely wasn't one of ours. But now I see how all this looks mighty shifty. The quartermaster eyes with concern. She was some sort of spy then. I have to go. No, I don't. I need to sell things. It's simply a buckler. That's a +1. It can go there though. You don't need that buckler, and we can sell it. It's only 1 gold, but it's there. Soziel.
I crave for adventure.
Hello again. I'm very pleased to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
A young cleric stands before an easel, his brush hovering over the canvas without touching it. Instead of painting, the young man absent-mindedly gazes at the sky of Canabras, which is still streaked with the towering plumes of black smoke. Finally, he notices you and smiles, shaking off his stupor.
It's a pity I wasn't there at the Grey Garrison to witness your feats of strength with my own eyes. The flash, however, could be seen miles and miles away. Some people were frightened of it, thinking that the demons had blown up the remains of the keep. I, for one, knew immediately that it was a good sign. The light above the city showed us that there was still hope.
Who are you, and how could you possibly be of use to my army?
My name is Soziel Vanek. I am a cleric of Shaylin, the Eternal Rose and the Goddess of Beauty. Yes, I know that many people would consider me useless in a war. This is not a usual war, though. Just consider our enemy. The Abyss and his demons are the very embodiment of everything evil and ugly in the world. Perhaps a disciple of kindness and beauty might come in handy.
Soziel smiles with embarrassment.
I have no doubt that we will win this war, Commander. We just have to. It is our destiny. My role is to help you, and all those standing by your side in this struggle, to survive and flourish. Everyone deserves the chance to find peace and happiness in the world that they are defending so selflessly.
What are you painting? The cleric's eyes linger mournfully on the canvas. The unfinished painting depicts a temple crowned with a rainbow-tailed bird, the symbol of Shellin. 5 people dressed in robes stand before the temple, men and women, young and old. They all gaze back at you with radiant happiness and joy in their serene eyes.
My brothers and sisters in faith. They sent me for help, and then they saved my life, Commander. If the Prioress hadn't ordered me to escape the city and seek help, I would have died right along with them. Instead, I met Queen Galfrey on her way to Nerosian, and hurriedly returned to Canabras, only to find my friends dead on the steps of our desecrated temple. I want to draw them the way they live on in my memory. Wise, beautiful, and loyal to their goddess and their city to the very end.
Soziel touches the edge of the canvas gently, as if patting a friend's shoulder in consolation. I hope you'll last longer than your brethren when the real battle begins.
Do not speak ill of them like that. They did everything they could. It's not their fault that the odds were so stacked against them.
Yes.
Now it's my duty to make sure my friends and tutors did not die in vain. I will honor their sacrifice by making this world a bit more beautiful and kind.
What made an artist enlist in the army?
Perhaps I am a true artist, or simply an amateur who defaces canvases in my spare time. My goddess is a patron of art, so painting is part of my prayer, and I put all my heart into my pieces. But I am a cleric above all else, so I must also tend to others. I went to war because here's where I'm most needed. Sure, I could be painting idyllic landscapes and offering empty prayers to my goddess, but that won't stop people from dying. My goddess has no tolerance for false piety.
You want to discuss something with me, right?
Yes, I have a personal request. Before we undertake our journey and leave Canabras behind, I would like to visit Martyr Zacharias' cemetery for a funeral. It's not far from here, and it's important. I would like to pay my respects to my friends from the Temple of Shaylin who died defending the city. Also, if it's not too much trouble, I would like you to come with me to honor their memory. Their friends and family will be at the funeral, and perhaps the commander's personal presence will bring them comfort. I know that you are burdened by many cares right now, so I understand if you can't find the time. But if you could, I would be sincerely grateful.
It was nice meeting you. I have to
You
go.
must be rather busy indeed. Leading a crusade all by yourself is no joke. I still believe that you are up to the task. This war has been raging for 100 years, but you've given us a chance at victory.
Ah, Darren. How are you feeling after recent events, my friend? There you are. So how do you like your new role, advisor? Darren winces. You also enjoy poking me with a stick, don't you? Imagine it. Me, a crusader. If my dearest cousin hoped to teach me a lesson, she managed it perfectly. An assignment I couldn't avoid without losing face. This idiotic journey leading straight into the demon's maw. I could have been on a pleasure boat right now with the loveliest songstress in Pitax on my arm, and a bottle of the finest Keonin wine to keep us company. Incidentally, I blame you for all of this, Deeren lets out a sigh. Well, actually, I think Cousin Galfrey is to blame for everything that's happened to me, and I suppose some of my misdeeds could be considered my own fault. But I can hardly be expected to take responsibility, can I? Certainly not. Therefore, I shall lay all the blame at your door, and plot my revenge, he gives you an innocent smile. Did you also receive a fraction of that unusual power? Looks like it. I genuinely hoped that getting away from you would be the end of it. If your gift truly did come from Eomade, then giving me a smidgen of that power was a very subtle joke on her part. I had no idea that our divine Lightbringer of Mendev even had a sense of humour. Don't get me started on the many acts of sacrilege against her. That obscene engraving, the truth about the test of the Starstone, is the tamest one by far. I should go. Farewell. And Sealer, the last but not least of my number.
Hello. So, what do you reckon about everything that's come crashing down on us? All the responsibility, command, this new power?
Sealer looks anxious. She's holding her sword, but her movements seem nervous. The girl doesn't even notice you at first, but when she does, she smiles cheerlessly and stops what she's doing. I haven't figured it out yet. We'll see what happens next.
Watching and waiting is a good strategy. Probably. I'm still frightened by what happened in the Grey Garrison. Were we really chosen? By Iomade herself? You know, back when I was a snot-nosed kid who just started down the path to becoming a paladin, I imagined once or twice that I was going to do something heroic. The lights would shine down on me, the trumpets would sing, I'd hear the voice of the goddess, or at least her herald, you know? I'd be informed that I had been chosen for a great cause. But that's the point where my imagination always failed me. Somehow, it really happened. Without all the trumpets or the herald or even anyone explaining what I had to do. Though it's clear as day, my place is here, in this demon-ridden wound. Quite a lovely war going on, in fact. Endless, I hear. I'm gonna need some time to wrap my head around this. Spare me an hour and I'll crawl into some dark corner and whine about my hard lot. What can I tell you? I cry easily.
I doubt that. Sealer sighs and laughs weakly. Thank you for speaking with me. Until next time. The Inquisitor. But where is the storyteller? This is the question.
What's in wait for me there, I wonder?
He's not with Ember, is he? She's on top of something there, I see. Nope, that's just the watch. Hello? August Worm, blacksmith. Leotta, there's Leotta. I need to speak to him. Commander, a tall man with piercing yellow-green eyes, gives you a brief nod. Let me personally congratulate you on your new title and thank you for your time in advance. I am Leota Hawkblade, an Inquisitor of the Church of Iomedae, the Bringer of Light. I require your assistance in certain delicate matter, involving one of your companions, young Count Darren Arande. And you one of Prelate Holrun's followers? Leota's face freezes for a moment, but he nods. Yes, of course. What is your opinion of his atrocities? Leota is silent for a while. Usually people reveal such things about themselves only to their confessor, not some curious stranger still. I did ask for your help, and that imposes certain obligations on me. Let me put it like this. I spent enough years by Prelate Holrun's side to learn how to keep him from going over the line. Obviously not, from what I've seen. The Prelate is an extraordinary man, but he has fallen prey to his own paranoia and monumental sense of responsibility, which has gradually eroded his razor-sharp mind. He has witnessed so much hideous darkness that he now sees it in every shadow. Yet his strength was and is a shield for all the people of Mendev. That's my opinion. His comrades and advisors are necessary to prevent him from making unforgivable mistakes. What brings you here? I ask you to assist the Church for Iomedae in an investigation of the utmost importance. I understand that the leader of the crusade has plenty of other matters to attend to, but please allow me to tell you the details. Perhaps it will explain why I came calling upon you. The Inquisitor's open face instantly reveals his feelings. He frowns and looks through you, lost in his thoughts for a moment. I suppose that you have already heard about Count Arande's story. I refer to the tragedy at Heaven's Edge Estate. Tell me what happens at Heaven's Edge. Yes, we know. You're going to investigate this old case again, aren't you? Yes, I am. I have several reasons to doubt the widely shared account of exactly what happened at the estate and how it happened. You see, Commander, I was among those sent to examine the estate after the incident. I saw everything with my own eyes, and I still remember it clearly, even though it feels like it happened a lifetime ago. Heaven's Edge was a unique place that still carried the spirit of old Mendev. Mendev before the World Wound, and yet on the day it turned into a labyrinthine house of horrors, like something only seen in nightmares. Our apologies for the digression. I wanted to tell you about my suspicions. Everything about the incident seemed odd. Why was the only person left alive a young boy with a newfound talent for divine magic? Why did nobody send to Canabras for help, even though the agony spanned many hours? We found the demons dead with their heads cut off, and when we got into their state, how were they defeated? How did the disease kill even the paladins present at the estate, who are said to be immune to any disease? If the demons had found a way to penetrate the Holy Warrior's defences, why has this never been repeated since that tragedy at Heaven's Edge? You are the only person who can help me here, Commander, because the only living witness of those events is currently serving in your army. Your army's route will take you near the very site of the tragedy. Heaven's Edge has been abandoned and sealed with potent magic throughout all these years, and only the Count has the power to break that seal. He is unlikely to invite an Inquisitor inside, and in any case, he won't like me sniffing around his family seat. But if you, as his commander, express your wish to visit the estate, he will be obliged to fulfill it, and I will simply follow you as one of your attendants. There are 100 ways, 1,000 paths, and a myriad loopholes in human lives that the forces of evil can use to their advantage. I am not sure which of those led to the demons to the gates of Heaven's Edge, but I do know it wasn't a simple raid, the kind crusaders face every day. The incident involved a significantly more powerful entity, and that is why I'm asking for your help. We cannot be sure that such a tragedy will not happen again until we uncover the truth. You've already been to the estate several times. What do you expect to find now? I was young and inexperienced Inquisitor when I first visited Heaven's Edge 10 years ago. My skills have improved significantly since then. I have paid dearly for that. Leota makes a vague gesture pointing at his scars. My arsenal includes many spells and techniques dedicated to gathering information about people and events. Almost all of them require me to be physically present in the place where the events in question happened. That is why I must return to Heaven's Edge. Why can't you just search the estate yourself without involving me? The estate is abandoned and sealed with a powerful containment enchantment that only the Count himself can lift. This is not the main reason, however. The main reason is that Count Arande is not officially under investigation by the Inquisition, so I couldn't just break into his house, even if I found a way to bypass the spells. This is a serious matter, Leota frowns. A matter that threatens the reputation of the entire Church of Eomide, and my own organisation in particular. We made more than enough unforgivable mistakes during the Third Crusade, and are still dealing with their consequences. Your presence will give my investigation the necessary legitimacy, Commander. But there is more. In addition to getting official permission, I'd also like to bring an independent third-party investigator in this case. Someone independent but well-respected, and you fit this role perfectly. Did you question Darren himself? I did, but the Count insisted he couldn't remember anything about the incident due to severe shock. He saw the demons at the very beginning, and they appeared at the celebration to announce the onset of the plague and mock their victims. He also witnessed the death of his mother, Countess Selena. That was all he would tell me. Leota pauses. We found the young Count asleep, like a log on the floor, in one of the rear chambers, having drunk about half the family wine cellar all by himself. There is no reason to disbelieve him on that matter. So you suspect that Darren is hiding something, that he is to blame for the tragedy. I deliberately refuse to entertain any theories or suspicions so that it doesn't affect the investigation. There is a saying among my colleagues that suspicion is the mother of prejudice, and prejudice is married to failure. I can only tell you that Count Arande wasn't suffering from demonic possession, the most common malaise in our country at the time. Prelate Holron himself examined the boy right after the tragedy, and he didn't sense anything awry with him. Fine, I will help you. What do you need me to do? Leota bows his head to you with exceptional reverence. Thank you, Commander. Now, I ask you to speak to the Count and tell him that you wish to see Heaven's Edge. Please do not inform him of my presence right away. I will join your escort when it's time to travel to the estate. When we get there, I will also require your help during the investigation. You will have to follow me, observing my actions as an independent witness. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask me. I think that's it for now. Let's go speak to him and let him know that's going to be happening. I'd love to visit Heaven's Edge and see the Arande estate someday. Oh, I was just about to mention it myself. I've been thinking. Now that I'm in the middle of this whole crusade nonsense, I simply must devise new ways to have fun. With all the recent commotion, my birthday completely slipped my mind. What if we were to celebrate it at Heaven's Edge? It's not far from here, and you'll get to enjoy a banquet in bona fide haunted house. Darren seems to have trouble getting the words out, which clearly indicates how rarely he has to ask for anything. Since you're my superior and I'm your advisor, I'm obliged to ask your permission to leave for the festivities, and I want to invite you too. I'm sure the commander can free up an afternoon while the soldiers are on leave. Are you really going to throw a banquet at the very place where your whole family died? Darren pauses his lips for a moment before replying in a bored drawl. Yes, what of it? Am I supposed to weep and quake with fear for the rest of my life? I've stayed away from the damn place for 10 years. And now I'm going to return there to drink, dance, and be merry without a care in the world. You can keep your squeamish disapproval to yourself. All right. Deal. Perfect. You have a ball. I'll make sure of it. Something strange flicks in Darren's smile. Heaven's Edge has been revealed. Right then.
No secrets can escape my prying gaze.
A little more that we can gain here. Mostly to sell. It's not very good stuff. I don't see anything here. Very well. It's not going to be anything too important anyway. A quick trip to our quartermaster. A quick sale. Now it's time to leave.
This way.
Right. I'm going to drop you for Ninio. And I'm going to drop you for Social. The reason being, there's the cemetery here to go to, and the Hound Heart campsite. After we've got the cemetery done, I believe we can get rid of Social again and bring Darren back. Much more fun. There's nameless ruins over here. Right then. And that will be it for now. There are links to other gameplays if you wish to check them out. There's a like and a subscribe if you wish to help us grow. And there's also a comment section where I will be sure to respond to you. I've been the storyteller, the Yorkie, the tail spinner. The Chihuahua's been around and you've been fantastic. I shall see you next time. Fare thee well.